Hogstye.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another victory episode of the Hogside. This is Alex, and I am outraged. Who takes a penalty going into the victory formation? Honestly, Ron, honestly, Dwayne, what the hell was that? How do you screw up the easiest play in sports? You know, like, you take a penalty there, you know what you're doing. Like, what's wrong with you? All you have to do is go out there, take a few seconds, hit the knee, and, do that 3 times and then punt. That's all you had to do. And yet you took a penalty? Come on!
Alex is on a rant. Look, that was the most incompetent display of end-of-game clock management I have ever seen in professional football.
No, I won't go that far, Steve, and I'll tell you one reason why. Haskins did something smart after they took the penalty. Every time they went to take the knee, he, dropped back a few steps to add an extra second or two each drop back, right, so that they could drain a little more clock off. Now, he needed to do one more second so he could get all the clock off, and after the punt, the game was over.
All they needed to do was have one running play.
Yeah, one running play. This
would have happened.
One outside-ish play, not like to the edge, obviously, but like off tackle, just so it drains some more
that's
clock.
All they had to do.
Yeah, that would work too.
Horrible clock management. And the other thing is, just to get the negative out of the way, I hate these uniforms with an unbridled passion that is hotter than the fires of hell. I hate the uniforms. White. I'd like to clue everybody in on something. White is not a primary color of this team's uniforms. Okay, it's awful, terrible. Honestly, it really, and I'm saying this with all sincerity, it makes me not want to watch. It's that awful.
Steve is in the minority in this. I think when it comes to the fans.
Good.
I know you don't care.
I'm in the smart camp, not the dumb camp.
Well, I'll say this. I always thought that it was a worse look back in the, Kirk Cousins era when they would wear gold pants on the road all the time. I think that's gold pants in a white jersey just is not natural to me.
At least the gold is a team color.
I get it, but white over gold just looks ugly. I
think I've been watching the Colts,
Yeah, I mean, other than obviously the burgundy helmets. But yes, I understand what you're saying.
Oh,
the Jets,
God,
the Chiefs.
I just can't watch the team dressed like this. I can't.
Well, I unfortunately, I think this is going to kind of be their, we're going to the playoffs look on the road. They can't do it at
Jason
home.
Wright,
but, yeah.
Okay, at least count my vote, please. Because we know you listen at least sometimes. Your people listen to this show.
His people listen. Jason's working 20 hours a day. He's not listening.
So count me in as I hate white on white.
I mean, we have a little pipeline to Jason, technically. Although
we do, but we're not going to waste this input on that.
He would tell us, I don't care what you think. That's what he would say.
You'd probably wonder why we're sending him such a stupid note.
Yes, I know. He would. Okay, so that's what you're mad about. I'm mad about the, how they screwed up the taking the knee a little bit.
Oh, I'm mad about that too. Yeah. I just told you it was a horrible clock
What other grievances should we air before we get into the fact that we actually won this game? I am mad that they still can't figure out how to get Terry McLaurin included in this offense now that Gibson's out.
Why didn't Javon Leak get a carry?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, why didn't Javon Leak get a carry? A little annoyed about that. Not super annoyed, but that's a 2 out of 10 for me. Where's AGG? That's what I want to know. Who is this guy, number 19, who was running around, and why isn't Antonio Gandy Golden getting all those targets?
He's standing on the sidelines watching. That's why he's not getting targets.
I don't understand. He can't. I know he's not like a speedster like that guy is, but he's better. He would actually try and catch the ball, which that guy did not.
Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I'm a little annoyed at Alex Smith because he looked terrible, but he also got hurt. So,
We're going to get into that, too.
Yeah, we'll get into that. All right, fine. All right, let's get into the other stuff now. Do you have any more grievances before we do?
No, I think that's it for now. I'll think of something else to complain about.
We are on a 4-game win streak. So now let's get into the happy stuff. 4-game win streak. Washington comes away. Big defensive series is back to back to win this one. And Steve, why don't you give us the numbers so we can start our actual conversation?
I've got a really, really cool question for you at the end based on these numbers.
Is it who Tressway versus the offense? No.
Give me some credit, please.
Right. Okay.
All right. So Alex Smith, all of 8 for 19 for 57 yards. Dwayne Haskins, for his part, was 7 for 12 for 51 yards. Together, they were 15 for 32 for 95 yards. That's net, minus out the sacks.
And one
rushing
interception,
as a
right?
team, they were 28. Rushing as a team, they were 28 for 98. J.D. McKissick, 11 for 68, with a long of 17. Peyton Barber, this might be his best day as a Redskins or a Washington player. 12 for 37 for 3.1 yards per attempt. Amazing.
Woo-hoo-hoo, for him, that's burning it up.
Yeah, that's like 120 yards for another running back. Cam Sims with the one jet sweep was 1 for 5. Logan Thomas was the leading receiver, 6 for 43. Terry McLaurin, 2 for 24 on 6 targets. J.D. McKissick, 2 for 18 for 4. Isaiah Wright, 1 for 9. Cam Sims, 1 for 8. Steven Sims Jr., 1 for 5. Peyton Barber, 2 for 1. Yikes. Okay. And
wait.
on... Huh?
Oh, wait, it's just catches that you were saying. Because I was thinking
one,
like incompletions.
A total of 1 yard.
Yeah.
San Francisco, Nick Mullins was 25 for 45 for 260 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Raheem Mostert was 14 for 65. Jeff Wilson was 11 for 31. Deebo Samuel was 1 for 9. And it goes down from there. Brandon Ayuk was the leading receiver for both teams, 10 for 119. Kendrick Bourne was 3 for 42. Richie James, 3 for 33. It goes down from there. Now, here's the cool question. Obviously, Tressway outpunted.
Yeah.
Off.
I think he did that on 1 punt, frankly.
Now, the question I wanted to ask you, this is a better question. Did Tressway outpunt both teams combined?
Both teams combined?
Yep.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no just because, we know Mullins had 200-something yards, and you add that up, that's a lot.
He didn't, but it's closer than you might think.
Really?
398 punting yards, 537 total offensive yards for both teams combined.
That's pretty darn close when you think about it, yeah.
Now, would you like to take a shot at the combined punting yards for both punters?
All right, so you just told me 398 for Tress, right?
Yes.
I'm going to guess 700, 750, that range?
Oh, no, you're low.
I'm low.
809 total punting yards. That's
809?
Unbelievable. 809 punting yards.
Yikes. Yeah.
That's got to be some kind of record. I'm not going to look it up. Nobody asked me to do that because I won't.
There's got to be some game from like the 1930s that no one scored, and it's all just punts. I
guess. Mitch Wishnowski had 9 punts for 411 yards. If Tress had only had one more punt, just one more punt, he would have been over 400 too. We'd have had both punters over 400 yards punting. He missed it by 2 yards.
Really, if he had just gotten a little bit more leg in that last one.
Yeah, I know.
And it would have run out the clock, too. That's the worst part.
Yep.
Again, they mismanaged it, and it's all Tressway's fault. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, there you go.
Our friend Tressway, it's all your fault, Tress, that you didn't run out the clock.
You've been on the show twice. We don't care. It's your fault.
We love having him on the show. By the way, yeah.
Defensively, John Bostic was leading tackler, 10 tackles. And in terms of sacks, there were 4. Chase Young had 1. Montez Sweat, Drawn Payne, and KPL were the sacks.
Right. KPL's sack, man. That
was brutal.
It's going to get overshadowed by the big plays that happened, but he ragdolled a fullback and then just clobbered the quarterback. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, it was, yeah. Whew, man, he
went
over that.
That's old school football right there.
And I would be remiss in ignoring the fact that Cameron Curl had a 76-yard pick six.
Oh, yeah, so of course.
That's stats.
Yeah. Obviously this is a defensive game. Both teams very injured on offense. Even before Smith, went out, though, he wasn't playing very well.
It was Smith's worst game with this team.
Easily his worst game. And I don't know what was going on there. I know Arizona, Francisco, whatever they are now.
Arizona, Frisco.
And Frisco, yeah. Sanzona, which probably
Let's go with Sanzona.
Yeah,
I think that sounds better.
Because that also sounds like it could be like a small town out there somewhere.
Yeah, it kind of has a bit of flair to it.
It does.
Sanzona.
Yeah, so Sanzona, they do have a good defensive coordinator, and he was disguising some stuff, but yeah, I don't know what the heck's happening with Smith there. He was really struggling.
I'm glad to know, frankly, that he has an injured calf because I was really wondering what in the world is going on. He was missing balls,
Right.
all over the place. He
Yeah.
just looked horrible, and I'm not glad he was injured, but I'm glad that there was a reason why he was so awful.
Yeah, I am too. Well, not glad that he's injured, obviously, but
Right.
it makes it make a little sense why, like, that early pass to Mclaurin that kind of Terry should have been able to catch it, and it kind of just was shorted, that out route for a first down.
That was the one that really did me in. I was thinking, what in the world is going on
Yeah.
here? By the way, just let me get this out of the way right up front, too. All the injuries,
Right.
This is what I came up with. Wes Schweitzer, Terry McLaurin, he limped in the first half, remember? Logan Thomas went out briefly. Obviously, Alex Smith, DeShazier Everett, James Smith-William, and John Allen.
Yeah.
And he went out briefly.
He went out and came back.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note that he came back,
Right.
So, yeah, a lot of injuries. That field was a mess. Like, you could see early on that did the Arizona Cardinals play there last week or something? Because
to be honest, I don't remember.
I don't remember either. But yeah, that was a roughed up looking field.
Yeah, it was. There's no doubt about it. But look, this was an incompetent display of Washington offense.
Oh yeah,
They could not do it. But for J.D. McKissick, nothing went right at all. Dwayne Haskins didn't look very good either. He completed 7 passes, sure, but I thought he made some poor decisions. He got lucky on the interception that wasn't, it got called back.
Yeah.
Properly so. I mean, the ball hit the ground, but barely. It could have been disaster. The trick gadget play, the pitch to Isaiah Wright, halfback pat, that was a complete disaster. I don't know why you do that with Isaiah Wright, for God's sakes, but whatever. The run
Isaiah
game.
Wright never played quarterback. I know his career pretty well. He didn't play quarterback.
You've got an NFL quarterback on the roster, for God's sakes, Logan Thomas. Run game wise, J.D. McKissick, he looked okay. He looked good for his part. He had the one long 17-yard, run. If you take that away, that one catch, then he's down to 51 yards, which is still, it would be 10 for 51, which is still good, a good game. So, I think J.D. McKissick's the lone bright spot on the offense. And I'd like to point out also that Terry McLaurin, another day with not a lot.
Yeah, I think people are really keying off on him now because Gibson's out. And, Gibson kind of was the thing that made the offense go. So, that makes it a lot more troubling.
It's sort of like when Eddie Van Halen is not healthy and can't play.
Right.
There's no Van Halen.
Why are you even seeing this show at that point?
Right. Rest in peace. Yeah. My favorite position.
Sure. Although I can't judge. I went and saw Queen with Adam Lambert, so
I saw Journey without Steve Perry or the new guy, the little short guy.
Yeah.
That is what we had. It was Journey without a lead singer.
Right.
That's what we had today.
And at least with Queen, you can make the excuse. Well, Freddie Mercury died when I was like 10. So
Adam Lambert's pretty good though.
He is. He there were certain songs he couldn't do. We talked about that once.
Nobody's Freddie though.
No, I know. You'd be better off like just saying, "All right, don't do those songs."
I think Adam Lambert's the closest thing they're ever going to find to Freddie Mercury.
Yes,
he's pretty good.
But that sidetracks us. So let's get back to
a little bit.
Yeah, a little.
I was trying to find a good analogy. We got off on the music.
Yeah, we did, which is funny because I'm not good at music talk.
I could do music all day. You want to do a music podcast? I could do that.
I would be terrible in a music podcast. I would be the last person
be up my alley. You wouldn't be up my alley at all.
No, well, no, I'm just not a music guy. I'm not.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about what the defense did well, because they really, other than those 2 scoring drives, they kind of just owned Nick Mullins the whole game. It felt like.
Well, they got a lot of pressure right up the middle.
Yeah,
and the announcers just could not get enough of Chase Young, but Montez Sweat didn't do half bad either, and he was facing our old enemy Trent Williams for a lot of those times.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
He and
and Ryan
Young switched
Kerrigan.
back and forth very often.
Yeah, Ryan Kerrigan rotated in and out.
Hmm.
So you know, if you want to point to one, the thing I think that did the most, it was the pressure up front, and I just don't think Mullins was ready for all of that.
No, no. And we
It
were
really,
starting to
I
see
think by the end it was playing with his head. It was messing with his head, I thought.
absolutely. Well, you know what was interesting to me? I saw somebody point this out, and I picked up on it. You know, I was tracking with it for a while after I saw him point it out online that Washington was using a lot of five-man fronts in the first half.
Hmm.
You saw Settle out there with the normal rotation of guys. They were basically
Yeah.
running a 3-4 in a way with Sweat and Young as outside linebackers, and
Well,
they
I
went.
think once Debo Samuel goes out, I
Mhm.
mean, you can afford to do it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And after after the second half, they went down to their standard four-man look. But I think that probably played into messing with Nick Mullins' head a little bit. You're worried about that blitz the whole time now.
Well, I mean, Washington has been rushing for weeks, and it's probably
Right.
time for them to mix it up. They can't
Yeah.
just keep doing it over and over and over again.
No, and I kind of like what they did, where give them a 5-2 look, give them a three-man front from time to time if it makes sense. The
Absolutely.
the one thing they haven't done a lot of, at least not that I've noticed, you don't see a lot of 3DE type stuff. Kerrigan out there with Sweat and Young.
No, they haven't really done that almost at all.
No, and I would think it's a natural thing to do on like a third and long situation, but
I
they
mean,
don't
the
do it.
problem is they're all three of them are edge rushers. Not one of them is really an interior rusher.
Yeah,
That's the problem. And the other thing is, I mean, you've got great inside guys.
yeah,
Not,
yeah. I
I
understand
mean,
that.
you've got a whole rotation of very solid inside pass rushers, and that's even ignoring the fact that Matt Ioannidis isn't out there,
Right, and
who's the
but
best interior rusher they have.
sure, sure. But my point is, just giving different looks can be a pain in the butt for a defense.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
why I'm surprised they don't do it. Um, yeah, the front really did well. They were getting gashed a little bit in the run game early on. I think we can agree on that.
What
Those
did I have a note about that here? I
okay.
thought it was pretty good. Let me see if I can find what I
Scroll
wrote.
back to page one of your notes.
Oh yeah, 49ers now running with impunity.
Okay, yeah,
That's
that
what I
sounds
wrote.
right. That
Yeah,
sounds right.
that was late in the first quarter when they were really just rolling. Nothing was going right. I was thinking, man, this game is going to go downhill fast.
Well, we
You know,
talked
if
about
this
it.
keeps up.
We talked about it in the pregame. They still know how to run a very good zone scheme, even though they don't have the elite running backs that San Francisco probably could
Yeah,
have. They are fundamentally sound in that zone run game, and Trent Williams being there only helps because he was great in it back in the day here in DC. I'm not surprised that they had success running the ball like they did, frankly.
and Raheem Mostert fits that system pretty well. I
He
think he
did.
seems to be doing pretty well in those outside
Right.
zone
And
scheme
that's,
runs.
he got caught a few times in the inside stuff, but the
Yeah,
outside stuff, he was very good.
right.
Yeah.
Defensive wise,
Mhm.
Cameron Curl had a big game. Even putting aside, the pick six,
Right.
I thought Cameron Curl played well again. If you want to talk about the biggest surprise on the
Hmm.
team, it's him. You want to talk about like an MVP of expectations, it's him.
How about most improved player or something like that? It's more
Not
like
most
that.
improved because I mean he's a rookie, so he had zero before, so I
Right.
wouldn't call him most improved. I just think that of all these players, he's the one that's outplayed expectations. Even Chase has about been at expect. I would say he hasn't exceeded expectations. He's probably met expectations.
Yes.
I mean, his numbers. If he had really had a lot of sacks this year, that's how you exceed, and he hasn't.
Right.
But Cameron Curl's the guy who's exceeded expectations of the rookies, I think.
Right. I think that's a good assessment for Curl. And who's the other guy that we're playing at safety sometimes? Revis or whatever.
Well,
Reeves.
yeah, him. I
Yeah.
mean, he's been okay.
He's
He's
popped up from time to time. He hasn't gotten blown up like you expect.
But
Uh,
Curl looks like a starter to me.
oh, Curl absolutely looks like a starter.
I think
Uh,
I'd rather have him out there than Landon Collins,
yeah,
considering the money of
they're
the
going to
whole
have to kind
thing.
of figure out what to do there. I think next year.
There's nothing really to do next year. I mean, they could get rid of him, but it would be expensive. They need to wait. It's kind of like Carson Wentz.
Mhm.
You know, I
Well,
mean, they
not
could trade
only
Carson
not as
Wentz.
bad.
The only way the Eagles could get rid of him, finally looked at his contract. The Eagles could trade him and save some money. But who's going to trade for that mess?
Right.
You know,
And not some, but their dead cap is still insane. You know.
Yeah, but if they trade him, it wouldn't be. They could trade him and save
bad,
money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, they couldn't cut him at all and not lose a fortune.
No. If they cut him, I think they lose something like an extra 20 million, 25 million.
Oh yeah, it's impossible.
But yeah, I like what I was thinking when I was saying that. I was thinking more, how do you put Curl out there and Collins? Like, how you got to find a way to use both of them wisely.
I mean, you don't.
Well, I think you could maybe put Collins in as like another weak side linebacker type, but
I've always said that, but it doesn't seem like Washington's coaching staff was really all that interested in that. And I mean, Landon himself has never indicated that.
Yeah, but they're going to need to.
And I think he'd have to put on weight. He'd have to put on maybe 10 pounds to be better at that too.
Yeah, he probably would have to put on 10 pounds or so, which isn't a huge amount when you're talking about, some of these guys.
No, just shoot up. You'll get there.
Yeah. Go to Wendy's or something,
Well, I mean, the needle is the easiest way. Just don't get caught, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, the Laurent Landry method. Remember what he looked like towards the end, man? He was nuts.
He looked like a poster child for steroids. That's what he looked like.
He did. It was terrible. Like, his biceps were bigger than his head. It was ridiculous.
I think he was more interested in working out than he was playing football, to be honest.
Absolutely.
He needs to go be a bodybuilder or something.
Yeah. Let's think. What else? Linebackers had a so-so game, I thought. Not terrible, but like I thought that Cole Holcomb didn't really flash or do much.
No, and he missed the tackle.
He
did count one tackle against him. John Bostic made some decent plays. From the big picture on the linebackers is that Jordan Reed was a total zero.
Yeah.
And he's dangerous, as we know. And there
were a few plays made by the other tight end for like first downs and stuff where Bostic probably should have had coverage and missed it, but nothing huge.
Yeah, I mean, this is by Washington linebacker standards is what I'm talking about here.
Right.
No,
I understand what you're saying. And then the secondary, I think, showed up very well. I think Fuller missed maybe one big pass, but other than that, it wasn't for a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean,
even.
No, I agree, but of course, the only real receiver of any consequence ended up being Brandon Ayuk.
Right.
Once Deebo Samuel went out, and Jordan Reed was just going to be a zero for whatever reason.
Right.
I mean, there's only one guy to focus on.
Right.
And that proved to be true. 10 receptions on how many targets did he have? 10 receptions on 16 targets, 119 yards, Right. And everybody else, Kendrick Bourne was the next highest, 42 yards.
I mean, that literally means he was 1/3 of the targets, if I remember the numbers correctly. You said they had 45 pass attempts. So if he had 16 of them, that's about a third.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, that's kind of nuts. Although, all right, let's switch to the Washington offense, unless you have anything else to add on defense.
No, I mean, San Francisco sort of looked like what we thought they'd look like.
Yeah.
Which was a running team that, because of all the injuries, isn't all that great a running team.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what they were. And Nick Mullins proved to be, San Francisco's version of Colt McCoy, which I think is what Jamal said. Didn't Jamal say that on the...
I don't remember we mentioned that last... Although, watching him play... His face, he looks like he's basically Rex Grossman's cousin or something. He kind of
does.
He has very much the Rex Grossman face.
He's got a really intense glare that Rex never had. But
right. That's why it's cousin, not brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Facial features wise, he's definitely Rex's cousin or brother or something.
Yeah. So let's switch to the Washington offense, and I wanted to do that thinking about Ayuk a little bit because we desperately need next year to find a slot guy, a little speedy slot guy, because Steve Sims, I know we loved him last year. He's not getting it done this year. He's dropping passes he should have caught. He had a couple drops there. I
think the Steve Sims experience, to use a Jimi Hendrix reference, has run its course.
Yeah. He's okay as a returner, nothing special, a lot of fair catches this week.
That's every week, though.
Yeah.
Washington has one of the worst punt return games in the league.
I think it's more of our coverage team that's struggling. These guys
Call it
look
what
down.
you want.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't done my usual go back and look and see what's wrong with the punt game, but
Oh, I know you're slacking, but
yeah,
the 22-yard punt return he had today was the best of the season.
yeah, that was a nice return.
Hmm.
So he had that. Um,
I mean,
yeah,
offensively, if you want to, talk offense, the fact that the quarterback was so bad threw everything off. The
it did.
quarterbacks, plural, threw everything off because normally Alex Smith doesn't miss on, on
That
that many passes. And I will say that if you look closely at the long ball to Robert Foster,
yeah,
I noticed this live, and then Greg Jennings pointed it out because I have done this on the field because
yeah.
I was not a good player, but. Um, Foster slowed down to turn back to look to track the ball. Now, when you're a receiver and you're not a great receiver, that's what you do that subconsciously. I have many times on long balls unconsciously slowed down and mistracked the ball in the air because of it.
Right.
And that is what Foster did. It showed that it has inexperience, I think, on that ball. So that ball, a better receiver would have caught that ball.
Oh, sure.
And that would have sort of changed the whole tenor of the way we viewed this quarterback experience, probably, if that ball had been caught, because that was about a 50-yard pass.
Well, I think somewhat yes, but Smith was missing some stuff that was,
Bad.
easy. That first pass play that, to start out the game to Terry Mclaurin that was nowhere close to anybody. Mclaurin was in the middle of the field. He was, I guess, a little tightly covered, but normally Smith can hit that. And
When the little out to the flats reminded me of Donovan McNabb.
yeah, yeah.
Let's throw a ball straight into the dirt. You know,
Right. And now I will say this: it's a bad pass, but if McLaurin doesn't slip there on that crappy turf, he probably still
yeah, he
makes
might
the
have caught it.
catch.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
wouldn't have been a big game. It would have been a couple yard game, but
it would have been short of the first down, but it would have been
right,
fourth and inches, not fourth and 8 or
right.
whatever it was. Now that's not excusing it. I'm just saying there were things like that going on too today, guys slipping. Uh,
I think
you know,
what we've seen here is that if Washington's short passing game is not working, they're in a heap of trouble, and it's
yes.
only because San Francisco is more incompetent.
Hmm.
For which, and by the way, we didn't even get to, the defense. This is a gross oversight on our part. I mean, our defense scored 14 points.
Yep.
On a great interception by Cameron Curl, on a terrible pass by Nick Mullins, and then the fumble, which was also on Mullins, thanks to the strip by was it Payne or Allen? Allen, I think.
No, the strip was by Young, and then Payne
No,
picked it
no,
up.
Young picked the ball up, but I don't think he stripped the
Well,
ball.
okay, so there were two fumbles. One Young made on the running back. That's what I was thinking of, and Payne got that. That was 3 points. Then Young had the fumble he picked up for 7, and then the curl interception for 7. So 17 points
Yeah,
really from our defense.
right. No,
Yeah.
that's absolutely true. And the defense won the game.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's not forget this was certainly the worst offensive showing of the season by Washington. Even going back to the early days when they were really bad, this game was really, really bad. And like I said, it just goes to show when the short passing game is off, they just can't do anything
Yeah,
because
I
they don't
mean,
really have a real running game, particularly with Gibson out.
right, right. They
Even
they
with Gibson,
can.
they don't have a real traditional running game.
And Smith, the short passing game is so critical for him and J.D. McKissick. That makes up for their lack of running game a lot of ways. And how many catches you say McKissick had this week?
McKissick had 11. Oh, I'm sorry, that's rushing.
Yeah,
My mistake. 2 receptions on 4 targets.
that might be his low, frankly, for the year at
Maybe.
this point.
I'd have to look.
Yeah, I'd have to
Maybe.
double check that too, but that's probably definitely his low since Alex Smith started because he's been catching 5, 6 balls, 10 I think last week.
Yes.
That's kind of been his thing. So yeah, that's not good if that happens.
Well, I mean, I stopped counting 3-and-outs.
Yeah, yeah,
I got tired of counting them, so many. And just when that doesn't work, it's just, it's game over,
hmm
for this offense. And they're
yep,
just really lucky. The 49ers should have won the game, and
yeah,
they're really lucky that those mistakes happened. Otherwise, this would have been a close fought, you know, San Francisco victory because the
sure.
offense got 9 points and 3 of those points were on
a short field. Yeah.
Short field. That was a 13. What they scored 13 yards.
Yeah.
So they were offense really and truly, and even the other one was only 29 yards. So they really and truly had one drive, legitimate drive, right?
Yeah. I
That
know what you're
resulted
talking
in
about.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they technically had another one where they missed the field goal, which also not good. But
About 53 yards. I mean, it's a coin flip.
oh
I
yeah, I
can't
know.
blame too much for
I'm
that.
not one of these people who's gonna like throw a chair about missing something over 50 yards.
Even that drive was only 25 yards, though. They didn't drive. They didn't go
No,
far.
you're right. But still, they need to. They desperately, and it's not going to happen this year, but they desperately need to find like a plan C or something when this happens. Because right now they've lost plan A, which is using Gibson and Terry McLaurin. Plan B has kind of gotten figured out quickly, which is short passing with Logan Thomas and J.D. McKissick.
Well, I mean, did it get figured out, or did Alex Smith just have a horrible day because of his injury?
I mean, the question to me is, when did the injury really happen? Like, it's not like you can pinpoint when did suddenly his foot stop being able to plant.
I got the impression that he came in with it because remember what the I forget what's the name of the sideline reporter, the woman who was doing the sideline. What she said was on the broadcast was that they had planned to loosen up his calf. Mm-hmm. That's why they had that big thing that was on his leg.
Like it looked like a styrofoam bubble wrap thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing. And so I got the sense that this was an injury an unreported injury that he had going into the game.
That's
just my guess, but
yeah.
Somebody's gonna have to ask him that. Ask the team that in the post-game presser stuff.
Before we wrap up, real quick, what was your assessment of Haskins' play when he came back in?
I mean, he held the ball too long on the sack.
Sure.
He should have gotten rid of the ball. He missed on a couple balls. I got the sense that Scott Turner didn't trust him.
Yeah, I get that sense a little bit too.
Yeah, just by the nature of the play calling, some of those runs would have been short passing calls with Alex in. Mm-hmm. And so I got the sense that he was in there out of necessity and they don't trust him. He didn't really give him a reason to trust him.
I think they also were playing not to lose, knowing they had a lead.
Definitely, yeah. For sure. But even taking that into account,
yeah.
They're running on some passing plays and stuff, and I wasn't that impressed with Haskins.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a tough game to come in, and do that on too. So
sure, I think I agree there. The one thing that he still hasn't gotten down, which is driving me nuts whenever he is in there, like that third down pass to Terry McLaurin that was almost interception. How does he not have any touch on his balls there? Like, he threw that.
It's a bad pass.
I mean,
what can
but
you say?
He throws these passes all the time where he's throwing it like it's supposed to be a 30-yard pass. He's putting that kind of spin and speed on it, and it's a 10-yard pass,
I just think he's still a little bit overwhelmed by the NFL. I mean, don't forget he's only played, game 12 or something? I mean, he hadn't played that much, total.
No, I think he has a great arm strength. He just hasn't figured out how to have touch on a lot of these short.
No, he doesn't. But he had more touch at Ohio State than he does now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Like, it might be he's still rattled by the NFL. I don't know.
He's not going to be back next year. I mean, maybe he might be on the squad, because they don't want to just cut him. But I think he's done as a viable plan for this coaching staff.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think
today gave me no reason to suspect that the coaches are going to trust him more in the future.
No, me neither. I mean, he might be back, like you said, just because they've put a draft pick in him, let him play it out. But yeah, there's a 1 in a million chance that he ever is really a viable starter. I think at this point for us.
Not for the. I still think he has talent, and I still think that they had managed him right from the beginning. And he had, they screwed him up last year with the coaching staff and all that, and then they benched him too soon this year. I thought if somebody it's always this way for quarterbacks. If you manage these quarterbacks effectively, a lot of these top draft picks will be pretty good, but a lot of them get mismanaged.
I mean, if you ever listen to Rick's podcast, season Kent.
I listen to it every week because he's on our network.
He's been saying this a lot lately. for 99% of the football players out there, it's all about being in the right situation. And, I think that's especially true for quarterbacks.
The Redskins, the truth of the matter is, the Redskins franchise could write a book on how to ruin a quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
They've done it several times, but Dwayne Haskins in particular is a case study in what not to do. What not to do? You draft the quarterback with a lame duck coach who didn't want him.
Mm-hmm.
Then you fire the coach and replace him with a backup coach that his offense is from 1972. Then you bring in another head coach who wasn't sold on him from the beginning, and then replace him 4 games into the season. I mean, it's all of that is how to ruin a quarterback.
I would actually say if you go back to the start of the Mike Shanahan era through now, every quarterback, it could be a book on what not to do.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And you could go all the way back to Heath Schuler if you wanted.
Well, I would say this. Jason Campbell, I think they groomed the right way. He just had a very low ceiling. Same with...
He's the only one that they didn't screw up.
Not completely.
And RG3, I mean, the fan base is fond of blaming RG3, and he definitely deserves blame. But I think if the owner and the coach had been more on the same page about him and not let RG3's ego run wild.
Right.
And you just had some bad luck with the injuries, that he suffered. Well, but the injury aside, the team had handled him better and used him a little differently. I think he wouldn't have ever been a superstar, but I think he would have been better.
Quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, we could write a book on it. All right.
Even Trent Green. Go back to Trent Green, for God's sakes. You let the best guy they ever had was Trent Green, and they let him go, and nobody recognized the talent.
Well, and then they repeat history with Kirk Cousins, and you know what they say: history repeats itself. That's very true for the quarterback situation here. All right, let's do game balls. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? I've got mine ready.
See, this is tough. I've been going back and forth on this game ball thing this week. Because nobody deserves a game ball on offense. That nobody played well. I know who, the standard, the only answer I guess is J.D. McKissick, but he didn't do much either. Truth be told. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to give the offensive game ball to Nick Mullins, and not for the reason you suspect. Not because Nick Mullins was the best player on the field. Nick Mullins didn't play well, but Nick Mullins gave this team 14 points. And so Nick Mullins is the guy who scored the most points for Washington. So in that respect, he gets a game ball. And this is out of recognition. The offense just was terrible, and nobody deserves a game ball. Right. On defense, I think Chase Young is the play here. Oh, yeah. He was all over the place, a monster out there today. So with a head nod and an honorable mention to Cameron Curl, I go with Chase Young. So Nick Mullins for being so awful, and then Chase Young.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give like a tip of the top hat to Curl and to Montez Sweat because he had a nice big sack there.
Yeah.
KPL, we talked about that earlier. Great, that was a great play he made. A lot of guys just doing little things right. Daron Payne, like. He busted up a bunch of runs that we're not going to even talk about, I think, because people forget about that stuff, but he had some great plays. So on defense, though, how can you not go with Chase Young? He basically recorded a stat line in every category you can as a defensive player, I think. He batted a ball. He got a sack. He had a couple tackles for loss. He had a forced fumble. He had he didn't have a pick six. That's the only thing he didn't do, Steve.
That's the only thing. He needs to get an interception.
Yeah, if he gets an interception, then it's some kind of like special hat trick for a defensive player. But regardless, probably his best game this year. And he's had a very good year as a rookie.
Right.
And on offense, I'm with you. Like, this offense didn't do anything. It was bad. So I'm going to give my offensive game ball also to Chase Young because he had more points than the entire offense. So good for him.
Well, I mean, the offense technically scored 9 points.
Kinda, not really. Chase Young set up 10 of them.
They did kick 3 field goals. They did, but they did kick 3 field goals. But I'm with you, though. Yeah. Chase Young, and it's kind of your version of me giving it to Nick Mullins.
Right, exactly.
Same philosophy.
Same philosophy. I'm just giving it to somebody else on the defense.
I can't in good faith give anybody on this offense a game ball today.
No.
They're really lucky they didn't lose this game.
I mean, we should say congrats to Terry McLaurin. You did break 1,000 yards, and then you did nothing. But You broke 1,000 yards.
Yeah. Well, of course, look at the quarterbacking. I mean, for God's sakes.
I know.
And by the way, I mean,
yeah.
I didn't even know they had 32 pass attempts on the day. That's amazing. It's 30, if you take away Isaiah Wright's 31 pass attempts on the day, and it didn't seem like they even had that many, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that Isaiah Wright play was so bad. And that's just like a bad play design. Also, we had like that weird screen that Dwayne ran towards the end, just before the almost interception play.
Yeah.
Like, Scott Turner has these gimmick plays drawn up, and other than the occasional end around, all of them go very badly.
Well, I had another note in here that I wrote in big letters, and I need to find it because I thought it was good. But the bottom line is, what I was trying to say, I can't find it. It's in my notes here somewhere. And yes, you can hear my pages rattling around because, yes, I keep...
You're analog.
Notes.
We get it.
They run jet sweeps way too much on this team. I'm not saying they should stop it, but, you know, they don't really have a receiver that's great at it. Isaiah Wright and Steven Sims are supposed to be sort of the guys, but they run it to Cameron Curl a lot. Or not Cameron Curl, Cam Sims. Yeah.
Terry McLaurin had a good one at one point.
Yeah, I don't understand why they're running this jet sweep thing so much. The jet sweep.
I understand it because they need something. And, yeah, I just don't understand why you would do that with Cam Sims necessarily.
Well, the running game runs best when they do a lot of misdirection.
Sure. That's
when the running game, because they don't have really a pounded inside, you know, running back that can do like the Adrian Peterson, John Riggins.
Right.
You know, they don't have that.
They don't have a line for that either. Frankly.
No, they don't. And so the misdirection where you've got McKissick going one way, Gibson going the other way,
right.
You know, receiver coming on, you know, coming against the grain of the play, you know, from the outside on the jet sweep. That's how their running game runs effectively. And I get it, but it's sort of like a gimmicky run game out of recognition that they don't really have a good run game is what they're doing.
And it does set up the occasional good play action pass. I know one of Haskins came off of what basically looked like a college triple option play action. Where
he's good at that.
Yeah, he's good at that. And I don't remember who it was. Thomas got on the outside or something. Somebody got out, and he got like an easy first down out of it. But then they do these gimmicky ones, again, that just blow up in their faces because you don't have the line to block for it. So stop trying. Like then they especially need to stop trying it when they get on the other side of the field. Just play football. Play old school, simple football. That's what you're good at right now.
At the end of the day, though, number one, if I remember it before the night's over, it'll probably be in my takeaways column. I think I'm going to try and figure out how low this ranks on the net passing in Washington history, because 95 yards is pathetic. You can probably go back to the 30s, and you know I'll have to cut it off at some reasonable point. But I'm going to figure that out because this is a really bad passing night. But to summarize this, you know, in spite of the awful, they're in first place at 6-7.
They won,
and they still have a chance to get a winning record if they get lucky against the Seattle Seahawks. You know,
then they have a very good chance. You know,
yeah, because then who are we down to? Then you know we're down to Carolina Panthers and the Eagles.
Right now, the Eagles did look good today with Hurt in there. They're looking
but that's
better.
Also like nobody's ever seen Jalen Hurt before, and what
they're
do you
playing
do with
the
them?
Saints, who are kind of phoning it in at this point. You know,
maybe. Yeah. So if they can if a miracle happens and they get by Seattle, they have a shot at a winning record. Who would have thought that?
Yeah. I think the Seahawks is going to be a very tough get by.
Yeah, and we'll get to
point,
that.
You know, I think we're exceeding most people's expectations. 7-9, 8-8 is probably the most likely, and either of those sound pretty damn good compared to people had us picking first overall.
They're in the running to get demolished in a playoff game.
Right.
They're legitimately in the running to win the division.
Yep.
And that's a good thing. And like Jamal and Alex and I all said last week, they're slowly making us believers. Today didn't help. You know, this is sort of a lucky win, but a win is a win is a win. At the end of the day, you won. You won 4 in a row, and that's a good thing. And keep it up.
Yeah. Hopefully Gibson can get healthy before too long, and then you have a shot. And you know, I think that's what we all want. We just want a shot. So I hope everyone enjoyed listening. We are way over time, so I hope you have a good week out there in Washington, and we'll see you on Wednesday or Thursday. Bye.